This is the new intro, isn't it? Hello there and welcome to a very special episode here on Master Moldy. As you can see in front of me, I have a lot of the MOCs that I've built over the past couple of years. And today we are going to be sifting through these pair by pair and deducing the best MOC I have ever made, at least out of this portion. Now, all of these MOCs, besides the AAT, which I am still working on instructions for, at the time of recording this video, are available not only on Rubricable, but I also give all of my instructions and all of my custom minifigure decals away to the higher tier of members, Brick tier, which sets you back $2.99 a month. You're pretty much paying £2 for each of these instructions. But if you would like a taster at what my instructions are like before you commit to either of the purchases, there are some free ones up for you to start building straight away. And keen-eyed viewers will notice that the background and a few little bits around this set have been switched up. I am working on my final studio tour of this year. So if you like what you see today, be sure to subscribe and drop a like on the video before watching the next one. But let's get into our first two builds. With Revenge of the Sith's anniversary sneaking up on us only a few months away now, I thought I'd start with two ships I really hope we get new variants of next year. The Delta 7B and the Eta, I think it's also known as the Eta 2B or something like that. But again, I'm sure you'll all correct me down in the comments. Now, this is my most popular MOC, I do believe, on the channel here, as well as over on Rubricable. And my Deltas in general are some of the better MOCs I think I have made. Compared to the Etas, these are both minifigure scale and all of the ships in this video. You hear minifigure scale thrown around a lot. Well, my minifigure scale is 1:45, the scale we see on our screens. 1:45 life size, of course, that would be if these were created in real life. I'm sure someone owns a life-size Delta out there or has at least a car wrap that looks similar. I think these are meant to be about 7 to 9 meters long. So it's really handy. You will, throughout this video, be able to see how big each ship is compared to each other and piece along the rest of the size based on all the other vessels. But I think out of these two, I do prefer my Deltas. Not only have I made Kenobis, I've also made Plo Koons. I've made Anakin's Delta twice, once using the pieces from this Eta. And overall, I just think the Delta, the Dorito-shaped Deltas, are just a nicer build in general. Nothing against the Etas. I would love to see another Lego set, but the Delta's moving through to the next round. Now, I'm honestly just grabbing these ships as they are closest to me. And rather than doing this stage like a Euro qualifiers or a World Cup competition, I am going to bring the next one and the winner will stay on. So here we have both the dark red and white, or the claret and white ships. One of which is the Snowspeeder alternate build built with an Old Republic set, and the other one is Kenobi's Delta. Now, I really like this Snowspeeder, especially coming up to Christmas time, which, if you couldn't tell by the Christmas jumper, the Christmas tree, and all the other Christmas decorations behind me, it is coming up to Christmas, or it's November, almost coming up to Christmas for some of you. But I really like the creativity in this build and the fact that I have managed to build a smaller ship, which isn't always easy using those old pieces. If you remember my review of the 2012 TIE Fighter, a lot of the ships back in the day for LEGO Star Wars come with some really gigantic pieces. You can see the wings are almost one element entirely, at least all based on one plate. But the creativity in getting the wings at this angle, the different hinge pieces used to get them to lock in at that angle, not just rest. They're not just resting on hinges. That is not a strong enough connection, but they are fixed in place. I think it definitely beats the Delta, which is a surprise. I thought the Delta was going to hang on a bit longer, but I guess it's already out. Before we move on very quickly, recently I built a Snowspeeder using the Pirate Snub Fighter, and the reason none of the Snub Fighter alternate builds have made it into the video, though all 4 of them do have instructions up on the members Discord and on Rubricable, is because I'm currently rebuilding that into the Snub Fighter. There are very few LEGO Star Wars sets that I keep built, especially after building some really cool alts. We're looking at the ATTE, we're looking at the TIE Fighter from 2012, the recent Republic class gunship, even the latest iteration of Luke Skywalker's X-Wing, and of course the ship that started this 145 Scout Anakin's pod racer. But I will be rebuilding that pirate snub fighter to display with all of those other iconic Lego sets because I really, really like the original build. But let's bring out our next contender. The next one's a massive build compared to these smaller ships and is the AV7 cannon. Now this I built for Christophsis and I did do a little showcase this as well as another bigger MOC that's coming out later. And I like how this turned out. I think this turned out really, really well. I also really like the Lego set and the extra detail they added. I was going for straight off the Clone Wars movies. And I think I did that really, really accurately. However, that being said, it's not a very detailed model. The legs themselves are very plain and it is also quite a weak model. If I take one leg, the whole thing is going to collapse. So I've definitely built stronger builds, but there's a lot of tiles on the legs and not a lot of little details. I could have at least added some sort of wiring like we see on the official Lego set. And if you've been following along this channel for a while, you know the turret had to go through some different iterations. It was not the strongest thing at first, and many of you pointed that out. But the short did really, really well, and I think I've definitely got the use of it. So I'll probably be breaking this down after the video, and it's the last time this AV7 will be seen, at least here in person. Next time I build it, hopefully we can build something better. All right, we have another fan favorite here, and I have paired these up. Technically, these are available separately. We've got the AT-RT Speeder, or the Walker, and the Bark Speeder bike. The reason I've paired them up is because together they are an alternate build of the 501st AT-RT and Bark Speeder battle pack we got. And to be completely honest, I don't think the Snow Speeder stands a chance. The Bark Speeder is a lot shorter than I expected the model to be in universe. But again, I think using the limited parts from the set, I haven't got this much better using the parts from my inventory just behind me. So I have no idea how I managed to put that together. And though the AT-RT is a lot wider than A, it should be, and B, I would like it to be, I think, again, the detail I have managed to get on something like this compared to the lack of detail on an AV7 cannon that was so many times bigger than this, I'm really impressed with these models. They still hold up to date. And these are actually rebuilds of my original alternate builds that I built all the way back in 2020. So whilst they haven't looked exactly like this for the last almost 5 years, they've looked pretty close, and I think that's really cool. Whilst we're speaking of speeders, I might as well get all of my other speeders out. We have the Mandalorian. It's something like the AV7. We have Luke's land speeder, which honestly is my favorite out of all these speeders, including the Bark Speeder. And we also have Han's, which the Lego set I really do love. And if you weren't aware, this is based off my favorite car, the Dodge Charger, which I think is an awesome fun fact to throw around from time to time. But these are all available in a speeder collection, which includes the Bark Speeder and the Endor Speeder. And whilst I do think the 501st Duo definitely trumps either of these, let alone all of them, I think it's also really cool that if you want to build any of these speeders, you get all 5 in a bundle. And I have got 2 bundles out on the channel. So if you wanted that Endor Speeder bike, you could opt for either of these. In fact, I have my recoloring of the Endor Speeder bike here in white for my AT-80, and I think it's a really sleek model. Again, if you do like your speeders, go check them out. I might do a 3rd speeder bundle at some point, but as they are my least performing builds, I think I'm going to stick with the 501st. We're going a bit more recent with this build now, and we have my A-Wing, which I think is one of very, very few completely unique MOCs, not based on any part restrictions, not based really around any set, though it does use the base chassis from the Resistance A-Wing, which again, I think is a really cool set, and I just had to modify it to fit the scale of the Rebel A-Wing. But that set was amazing. I'd love to get an A-Wing again sometime soon from Lego in an official set. I really wanted the UCS A-Wing as well, but I knew it was way too big for minifigure scale. And again, testing something like an A-Wing against an AT-RT, you wouldn't really pair these up in universe. So you never see these next to each other on screen or really in any sort of books with them being in their respective eras. But the fact that an A-Wing is only 380 RTs big, if you were to position them just like so, completely blows my mind. Not to even mention it's almost the length of a BARC speeder. But as well as this A-Wing looking really cool, being so swooshable, and also the fun I had putting this together was more fun than most of the other sets you'll see in today's video. But the cockpit is so spacious. It's something Star Wars sets don't have a lot of, whereas on screen you see these ships have such spacious cockpits, and it's because the interiors are made much too big for the scale of the ship. A lot of the time, the actual sets of the interiors of ships, such as the Razor Crest, just wouldn't fit in the Razor Crest if it was built in real life, and it'll be a bit more cramped, but it looks better on screen. So the fact we got a really spacious build that definitely could fit 2 minifigures if you read Splinter of the Mind's Eye is really, really cool. And there is that hidden compartment to charge Luke's saber or any of these Rebel blasters just behind the seat. But you'll have to watch the full video, which there is a full video on pretty much all of these. So just search Master Moldy along with the name of the MOC that you want to see, and I'm sure the video will pop up. Anyway, the A-Wing is going on to the next round. Now, bringing in our next large model from Christophsis, and I find that really, really cool. It does technically use the head of the Lego set, so I will be judging it from the neck down. And I think it's really, really cool that we did fit 3 droids on the interior of this model to actually pilot the ship and some of the different slopes and angles we've got. But I'm just not a massive fan of that really squared off torso. It just looks like it's walking along with its shoulders locked in a line. And hopefully I can revisit this model. I'd definitely like to do some sort of snowy Calamoc from the Bad Batch. So perhaps for next Christmas, I'll be rebuilding this and hopefully we can do a little bit better. The A-Wing wins this round and goes on to yet another. This is going to be a really interesting round because I like both of these models. We have the A-Wing, which is built just using parts in my collection, and we have a minifigure scale Fang Fighter. That's right, the Fang Fighter is even smaller than the A-Wing, a lot smaller than Lego's model. Lego's model is sort of a mid-scale between what they think the Gauntlet looks like and the Fang Fighter's actual size. And in reality, the Gauntlet is pretty much as long as this desk. So it'll be a while before I build one of those minifigure scale. But I really like the feature that the wings do spin completely around the cockpit with this model, which took some time to get work. There are a few iterations of this as well, and a lot of the time the wings would just fall off. Now, the original model that uses only pieces from the Gauntlet, the wings are very, very fragile. But I have modified my version to be a bit more secure, and I've seen a few other people building my model using my instructions, and they have also done similar modifications. So it's not too hard to make it secure, of course. The reason I use the weaker design in the original instructions is just because it is an alternate build and I want to make it accessible to people that don't have the extra pieces from collecting Lego for nearly 2 decades. I think between the two of them, both of them have a pretty spacious cockpit for how big it is. Now, the Mandalorian one, of course, has a much, much smaller cockpit, and you can fit the helmet on or off the minifigure behind. You could fit 2 minifigures if you were to decapitate a few, or perhaps you could fit 2 Yoda-sized minifigures in there, a million Grogus. But I think purely for the spinning mechanism on the wings, the A-Wing does have a little spinning mechanism with the blasters that can fire backwards, which I'm not sure how canonical that is, but it's a really cool feature for a ship. I think I'm going to have to take the Fang Fighter through to the next round. I wish I could keep these both on, but one of them has to go. Now, I am slowly regretting my decision because I think the A-Wing would look much better on this desk with Vader's TIE Advance. This was my first MOC of 2024. I don't know how I'm going to top this next year. It looks absolutely amazing, but the wings are straight from the bomber. The wings are not my creation. In fact, I have still got the 2019 TIE Fighter, and I have to modify those wings back into an interceptor after reviewing that set. Yes, I know I reviewed the set ages ago, but I just have built a load of other things and never got round to rebuilding it. But Vader's TIE Advance is a really, really cool model. The interior, the middle part of this, I have built completely myself, including a really large cockpit that you can actually fit 2 minifigures inside. I don't know who Vader's sharing that cockpit for, but perhaps you can fit Vader with one of those new rubber capes Lego are making. Either way, comparing it to the Fang Fighter, of course, both ships are very similar to the original model. This is basically a shrunken Bose gauntlet, and Vader's TIE is basically the bomber with a wider interior instead of the 2 tubes that we see on the bomber, which, by the way, the original bomber is pretty much 1/45 minifigure scale, close enough that I call it in the original video. But as you can see, it's a little wider on top and has this bit sticking out of the back, and this is going to be a really hard decision. I really don't know which one I'm going to pick. Both of them have blasters on them. Vader's TIE is a little more of a common build, I guess, but I really do like how the wings shape it, and I think that is a really big point of this MOC. I think you take away the wings, it is very haphazardly built. It looks really, really cool, but if you were to take it down on piece by piece, there are a few slopes that just don't match up, and for that, I think the winner of this video is going to be the Fang Fighter. It's a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. I really like this model, and the fact that the wings do spin around the torso completely 360 degrees, or the main chassis of the ship. I'm not sure if you would call it a torso. I think that gives it the cake. So let me know what your favorite MOC out of all of these are. I am really surprised that this one came through. I fully expected it to be between Vader's TIE, the Kenobi Delta, or one of the other models. Before you click off, make sure you are subscribed, drop a like on this video, and check out the other 2 videos, YouTube things you'll like, on screen now. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and may the bricks be with you always. Meow.